Welcome to Architrave Gaming. I'm the Archmaster. So, my editor told me I need to take public speaking lessons, which that really just means speak with more melody and cadence in your voice. You know, do what you know how to do. And I'm like, all right. Instead of talking like a manic person all the time, I just bit my cheek. Instead of doing that, talking like a manic person and biting my cheek, I'm gonna slow down and see if that makes this video a little easier to watch. Thank you, editor, for the advice. All right, so last time we talked about the skill proficiencies and the various bonuses you get for having various levels of proficiency in different skills. This piggybacks off of a video a while ago about having different bonuses, essentially feats, that you get from having a 10 or 15 or 20 in one of your attribute scores. So, you know, your strength, your dex, you actually get feats from having higher scores, right? And so now, this time, we are talking about intelligence skills, starting off at the top of the list. Arcana. At novice proficiency, this one's going to be simple. It's essentially telling you that you can use Arcana. You recognize arcane spells already cast. You see one in the world, like, all right, I know what that is, right? With a successful roll, of course. Pretty much basic. With journeyman proficiency, you can recognize arcane spells being cast, just automatic. And at adept proficiency, you can recognize magic zones, like, oh, that's a dead magic zone, that's a wild magic zone, etc. You make the check, you succeed, boom, you automatically recognize it. That's the stuff you can get. Next, a new skill, the assess skill. I took out perception and investigation, but I still like the idea of, searching for hidden doors on a dungeon wall. And so I was like, there should be some skill to actually look at the structural integrity or the makeup of the structure of a constructed item. That is still a skill. It's not just searching, like, oh, I look in the room or I look for doors, but it's something a little more specific. So with the assess skill, you can, ask the GM a question essentially about, anything made. It can be an item, a vehicle, a building, etc. Right? So that's how you normally use the skill. But at novice proficiency, you, upon a successful check, you get a +5 to attack that structure. So it's like, oh, I noticed the weak support beams, +5 to attack. At journeyman proficiency, you have +5 to defend the structure. If you're in your own vehicle or castle or whatnot, and you're ordering men or you're doing something yourself, you can you know how to defend the structure. This can even be an assess check where you're trying to bolster or buff the structural integrity of a castle or something, and you're putting like stones and boards and whatnot. You actually get a +5 to that check because you're defending. There are lots of uses of it. And then at adept proficiency, +5 to repair a structure. Creature. Okay, I got rid of animal handling. I guess this really isn't the time to mention it. I should have mentioned this a while ago. Maybe I will in a separate video. Anyway, in my system, the same as in 5e actually, the skills and the attributes are not inextricably linked. They are recommended. I still call these intelligent skills, but any skill can be used with any attribute, just like in 5e, although not a lot of people do that. But any skill can be used with any attribute as long as you explain why. You tell the GM, hey GM, I want to use my intimidation skill, but instead of a charisma intimidation check, I want to use a strength intimidation check. I want to demonstrate my muscles, flexing them or like grabbing him by the throat or, something like that, right? That's a common example, switching out strength for charisma when doing intimidation. You can do that with absolutely all of these, right? But keeping with that concept, I was looking at animal handling in 5e and thinking, how can you use other skills with this, right? Animal handling, it tells you exactly what it's doing, right? And I thought something better would be just animal. Because if it's just the animal skill, then you can make an intelligence animal check and learn something about an animal. Or you can make a strength animal check and try to hold it down or overpower it somehow. You can make a charisma animal check, and that it's animal handling. Like, hey, I'm trying to tame the animal. And so I thought, okay, that's cool. Instead of animal, I decided creature, because, creature, it just sounds better to me. It can be owlbears, it can be lots of things that aren't beast, right? Beast, animal means beast. And I didn't want to just limit it to beasts. It could be owlbears, it could be lots of things, right? So I just called it creature. I know technically humanoids are creatures, but it doesn't apply. Anyway, Actually, it might. I forgot. It might apply. Anyway, don't you love me? It's still in the works, guys. So with creature, it's you can make an intelligence creature check to learn something about it, etc. The things I mentioned. With novice proficiency in the creature skill, with a successful creature check, creature skill check, you get +5 to attack that creature. Like, you're looking for weaknesses, or something like, okay, I think I know something about this creature. Cool, I get +5 to attack because I studied it for a second, right? Journeyman proficiency, you have +5 to your AC against the creature. You know its attack patterns. You study, okay, it's gonna hit me with the right paw, and boom, +5 AC. And then adept proficiency, advantage on saves against the creature. That's kind of cool. You can look at an Aboleth or a Mind Flayer or something and be like, I know about this creature, I know what he's going to do, right? Because you're educated, you have adept proficiency in creatures. You studied a lot of creatures, so you're like, I know what this creature does, I have saves against it. Fireball saves, mind saves, etc. And again, this is another way that you could be a warrior, a fighter, a brute, and still have proficiency in an intelligence skill, and even use intelligence for it if you have a high int, and it still helps you in combat. All right, next one is Decipher. At Novice Proficiency, Decipher does exactly what it sounds like it does. Novice Proficiency, decode ciphered text or hidden messages. Journeyman Proficiency, learn general meaning of text in other common languages, meaning not exotic languages, not like Celestial and Infernal, more like, Gnome, Orcish, etc. And Adept, learn general meaning of text in exotic languages. You are so good at deciphering and noticing patterns between stuff that you can just learn the general meaning of text in something like Celestial because you're just that good at it. I think that's cool. All right. Elements. Elements is a skill. I don't have nature. I have plants, animals, and or I have plants, creatures, and elements. Right? I split it up. So with elements, you can recognize magical weather effects. In my world, the elements and the weather are actually magical, and they have magical effects. Journeyman, recognize elemental spell being cast. I have a whole class that casts elemental spells, and so you can recognize those kind of like with Arcana. And then Adept, recognize elementally influenced locations. So instead of like magic zones, it's elemental zones. And again, each element has various spells and magics imbued into them. So if you have a zone very elementally charged, you can recognize what those spells are. That's something that I'll have to get into later, probably only with my patrons, because that's my best idea ever, and I really don't want to give too much detail on it too early. But yeah, weather in my world is mega awesome. All right, next, history. We might get through this. Novice proficiency, recognize cultural, custom, or fact. Journeyman, recognize cultural hierarchy or structure. Not like physical structure. Could be. You can interpret that however you want, actually. But yeah, you notice, okay, this guy's the king, that guy's, beneath him, this dude's, etc. You can recognize cultural stuff because you're trained in history. And then Adept, recognize secret history or item. It's like, I know that item, that's from the Legend of Goldur, right? You get that. Next, planar proficiency. I don't have gods in my world, so instead of, religion, I have planar. You know about other planes and the denizens therein, right? It's a little more applicable. And plus, you don't just throw everything in Arcana, where Arcana just does everything magical. Like, Arcana is about magic. Planes is about the planes. Even if there's magic in the planes, it's a separate skill. All right. The last skill is my favorite. All right, planar, novice. Recognize planar influence on a location. You know if, the plane of limbo is affecting this place, and you can recognize that, there's, the grass is growing upside down in this place, or like I detect energies. You notice signs to look out for. Journeyman, recognize planar influence on an item. It's like, hold on, guys. That item, that battle axe that is so enchanted and fancy, that's touched by chaos. That's touched by limbo, or, etc. Maybe we shouldn't, right? You get to recognize. Or, this is a celestial weapon, or, etc., right? Planar influence. And it can be other planes too. It's a Feywild, it's a Shadowfell thing. And then lastly, Adept, recognize planar influence on a person. This guy is charmed by something Fey. I recognize the planar influence on this person, right? It's like, I think it's cool. I like it, planar. And of course, if you want to just learn facts about a plane, you can always make a regular, intelligence planar check and be like, hey, GM, what do I know about this plane, right? That's normal. But these are extra things you get. Plants. Novice, +5 to attack plants. Journeyman, +5 AC against plants. Adept, advantage on save against plants. Survival. Novice can find shelter, track creatures, and forage. This is one that I'm not exactly sure about. That's kind of what survival does anyway. It's not super extra. Again, it's in the works. That's what I have for now. Journeyman, +5 to avoid natural hazards like quicksand, avalanches, etc. If you're like, hey, GM, I'm making a survival check, I want to avoid this, quicksand, because the GM can call for a survival check to avoid a natural hazard, get a +5 to that. Adept, +5 to trigger natural hazards. For like other people, hey, I want to like cause a loud noise to make this avalanche fall down and hit our enemies. Cool, +5. And lastly, I think my favorite skill in the whole game, the one that I built a whole subclass around, and this, in the next video, I'll have to tell you about one of, if not my favorite subclass in this entire book. But for now, just the skill, the tactics skill. Novice, +5 to defend against next attack. Journeyman, +5 to attack creature. Adept, advantage on saves against target creature, and can take any number of reactions during target creature's turn. Again, if you watch my other video about action economy, any number of reactions doesn't sound as overpowered as it may seem if you're just coming from 5e. But yeah, okay, so creature does only apply to non-humanoid things. Tactics is for humanoids, because humanoids are the ones that really use tactics. Tactics is studying humanoid tactics. Anyway, next time we are going to have to talk about the tactician fighter subclass and tell you how I built it and how it all ties in to the attribute threshold bonuses and and the various skills, and how it all allows for a lot of versatility. I'm really looking forward to it. I'll see you there. Like and subscribe. Thank you to my patron Jack McCarthy, and thank you all for watching. YouTube pleasantries go a long way, and yeah, see you next time. Bye.